In this episode, we are going to discuss what are spiritual goals and how not to compromise your spiritual goals. So, welcome, Tiger.
Thanks for having me.
And this topic came up. It came up from a wonderful Facebook friend of mine. I get these once in a while. And I love getting some, questions and some
Right.
thought-provoking things of things that people are going through. And so she's going through a course, one of our courses, actually, the Way Shores College. And she had a question that was proposed to her in this course. And she asked me, what is my thoughts about this? And I said, this will be a really good episode about spiritual goals. So the question that was proposed to her in this course was, ask your guidance to help you recall a time when you did not compromise one of your spiritual goals.
Right.
So let's dive into that little bad boy, because that seems pretty juicy.
Sure. This is going to end up going a lot of different places because as the spiritual does, it covers everything.
Flows everywhere.
It goes everywhere. I suppose the first thing I'll start by saying is this: there's a difference between your spiritual goals and your material goals. Making sure that that's clear before people go too far into this. So my physical or my material goals are that of planet Earth, material abundance, money, cars, homes, even relationships to a degree. These are all things that I achieve and go for while I'm here. Spiritual goals are going to be, or spiritual is related to the things that I take with me. So the things that actually build me personally and spiritually. So that's one clarification to help keep confusion out of where things begin and end for me. There are things that I'm attached to or can get attached to, particularly within relationships or things that I've put a lot of energy into that are, my home or, a business or money or something like that. But I need to remember that they're all a means to an end. And specifically, they're there to help me with my spiritual goals.
Yeah, so let's take the spiritual goal real quick and go a little deeper in that one, because for myself, I've recognized that I haven't really been able to put like a word of what a spiritual goal is to myself. And I think that's where this person was at. Like, what does that really mean? But looking at what I know now spiritually, from especially working with the Way Shores College and all the practicality aspects of working with the spiritual part of us and myself, I'll say, is that I recognize I've unconsciously, without words, been doing this my whole life.
Yeah.
So let's put a little more emphasis for a moment on the spiritual goals. Exactly, like, what are those? What are some that you'd come up with?
You bet. So we've talked about the material side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some examples to get people going? So spiritual goal would be what would be considered principles or things that feather into everything. So being able to be calm, cool, and collected. Being able to use my sensitivity, my alertness, my well-being in every place I go. Being able to hear and move based on my spiritual helpers or angels or my connection with the universe or God, whatever you want to call that. Being able to do that all the time. Being able to be love even when I'm involved in confrontation or setting my boundaries. These all would fall in the realm of spiritual goals. They relate to tangible things, but they're things that I carry with me. They end up becoming part of my beingness as opposed to something that passes. So I may have money more on one day and a little less money on another day, so they're passing. But if I have a goal of being love, if I have a goal of of self-respect or loyalty to self. These are things that are a constant once I get them. So that's a distinction to just help clarify.
That's really good. And it's interesting lately because Tom and I have been reflecting on some past life things and really moving more into the spiritual goals of what have I put together for myself that has accumulated and now it's come to fruition this lifetime. And we were looking back at honestly like lifetimes when maybe we weren't the best people on the planet and we did some things that maybe weren't the most looked highly upon at this time and space, right? Like in this realm, but they brought me to where I'm at now.
That's right.
And if I didn't have those experiences, I would not have put together the wisdom, the insights that brought me forth to be right where I'm at right now. What if you didn't have to navigate uncertain times alone? What if you had a steady place to land, a place where your intuition is strengthened, not dismissed, where your spiritual questions are welcomed, and where growth feels grounded instead of overwhelming? Welcome to Reawaken. Reawaken is a monthly membership for people who know there's more awareness, more clarity, more connection, and who are ready to access it in a practical way. Inside, you'll receive monthly life regroupings to realign and refocus, ongoing tools to strengthen discernment, intuition, and emotional awareness. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about becoming steady within it. It's about learning to trust your inner compass. It's about moving from reaction to awareness, and it's about remembering who you are and walking forward with clarity. If you're ready to feel supported, aligned, and spiritually grounded, Reawaken is here. Join us and reawaken the part of you that already knows.
Yeah, so here's a great one, right? Because it lines right with, I'm getting chills with what you're talking about. So not judging, right? That is a spiritual goal to have. I want to have the spiritual goal where I no longer judge. And why is that a spiritual goal? Because it's easy for me to judge myself, right? And if I'm looking at all the negative things that are happening in the world around me, or people, or what happens in my job, or whatever, or my own, like, oh, I'm not up to par of where I want to be. Maybe my physical's down. Maybe my thought pattern or how I think, or I'm feeling a little depressed. I'm feeling a little bit anxious. It's easy to fall into judgment, right? And get down on the situation, get down on myself. If I have that bigger picture, like you're bringing up of the concept of lifetimes or whatever it is, it becomes difficult for me to judge other people because I realize, well, I didn't get to where I am without having those ups and downs. I didn't get to where I am without being, the slave master and the slave, or the little poor little gal or guy, or the dictator. Like somehow that's in me. Somehow I have a piece of that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to maintain my spiritual energy. Like the people who are attracted to this podcast, they must have something that they've gained for themselves, that they must have gathered over time. Otherwise, this wouldn't stick. That's just it's the law of gravity. So the judgment of that is really important, so that I don't learn not to judge myself. So here, going back to the original question, like a time when I didn't compromise my spiritual goals. Okay, for me, what's an example of that? Of when I say, I don't want to judge myself, or I'm not going to let this person or this situation confuse me or drag me down. Now that sounds like more of like positive thinking and things like that. And that's related, right? But just for making it a spiritual goal, okay, when I don't compromise that, or I'm not going to judge them and I'm not going to judge me. So then I go to work and there's that confrontation that can happen, or I get around the gossip or whatever's going on, or I'm listening to the news. We just did a podcast on that. Mm-hmm. When I say I'm not going to let that happen, and then I experience it going on around me, but I don't get into it. I don't contribute to it. I might smile, I might do this thing, but inside I go, nope, not doing that, right? I maintain my high ground. That's an example of not compromising my spiritual goal. It keeps me at the level I want to work with. And when I walk away from that, at least for myself, and I'd like to hear your experience, I feel lighter. I feel like I've accomplished something. I feel like I get chills. It's like there is a higher vibe going on. So when I don't compromise it, I just get this boost. It's like there's a bounce in my step.
Well, it's interesting because when I got the email, or it was actually a message on Facebook, I was like, compromise. I mean, like I felt it. I'm like, well, when have I compromised? For my spiritual part. And I asked my guidance for, a time, give me some examples. Just like, that was proposed to her, give me some examples from your spiritual team. And I immediately got that I've moved in timing with spirit time after time through my whole life, all the way back to like when I left home and went into the military, and there were people going, why are you doing that? Right. And my mom, upset because I was leaving home, which I get, right? I totally get. But that time and many, many other times that throughout my life where I've just been like, it's done and I'm moving on.
That's it.
And that for myself was when I did not compromise my spiritual part. I moved with it. And in looking back at it, it's just quite interesting how there were moments where I may not have moved because people may have tried to inspire me or tried to, infiltrate what I was doing. And I'm like, nope, I'm out of here.
Right.
I mean, I've really always strong had that. And so that's been one of my, I say superpowers, honestly. My spiritual goal superpower, Tiger.
Well, it's an example of what you brought up earlier of whatever makeup you have, whatever you've built up enough for yourself that's more natural. And I mean, we've all had it. I'm sure you've had it. But there are plenty of people who do and have experienced that compromising energy of what they know inside they need to do, of what they know inside is right. And when I say right, I don't mean the rights and wrongs of the world. Like you shouldn't, I should have stood up to that situation. Don't mean it that way. I mean it that, well, I knew better for my own well-being, but I got involved in it anyway. And that's that feeling of like you wish you had a big shoe, to bet. It's like I knew. I had that insight. Here's a simple one. Mm-hmm. Here's a simple one, and even I still can get caught up in this. I'll get the insight from spirit or the bigger picture to do or not to do something. And then I'll just blow right past it. I'll get inside my head. I'll start thinking about other things. And then I look back and I go, oh my gosh, I was warned about that. Or I was given the chills to go one direction, or, I heard it, or I saw whatever it is, but I didn't do it. And it really is, it's like, God, it doesn't feel good. It just kind of like, I knew it and I didn't do it. So that's that energy of the other side of compromising on my spiritual goals and how that will just drop everything down. And as long as I don't get caught in judging myself, going back to that point, I can go, okay, great. Let's not do that again. That's going to be my new goal, right? I'm going to follow through.
Listen.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like, for instance, like right now in this moment, and I'm not saying this just because I'm on the podcast, like I'm having like a little deja vu experience right here. So that tells me I'm in the right place at the right time doing what I need to do, right? That's how it works for me. That's my prophetic part, right? So the moral of the story is, as long as I felt that, and now I'm going to work with that, as opposed to letting it just go away and just getting involved in the next great thing. I take that in, like, okay, I'm at the right place. I'm not compromising that feeling. I'm in the right, just that little thing there is huge, because it's going to help me with my next step wherever I go after this. So those little things of how it sets things in place when I don't compromise my goals, how the doors open for the next step, how spirit or the big picture or, God, whatever, how they continue to open the door for me because I'm not compromising my spiritual. I'm not allowing myself to go back down. Then the universe says, oh, okay. So you're going to work at that level. Well, then we'll open doors for you at that level. And so as long as I maintain that, I keep going up. Now, when I let the energy drop, then it's like me going downstairs again, right? So that's the feeling of it. It's exciting when I do it, and it's not exciting when I don't do it.
I totally understand what you're talking about. And I want to go back to the word of, I know we're going to be excited about this, judging.
You bet.
Oh, judging. It's a juicy one. Because in looking at the past life stuff, and I was even going this morning, like, why do some people like never know about past lives and others do? Mm-hmm. And the insights I got about that situation and that question was that it depends on what people have come to work with.
That's right.
Like, I've come to work at this spiritual level that I've just been given these insights and these awarenesses and these openings at many different times around many different lifetimes. And so back to the judging thing, I see everything as a mirror to what I'm experiencing inside. It's the world is mirroring that back to me. And we just, like you said, did our episode with spiritual perspectives regarding Iran and Trump and all the things going on in the world right now and how to work with that energy.
That's right.
So in my awareness, and which I'm so grateful for, because it was big when I was little, but now the understanding that I have and the practicality of my spiritual part, especially from working with the Way Shores College, it's given me the insights to understand that, that person that's doing that, and maybe I'm judging, or if I'm not judging, like, they're just where they're at for their journey.
That's right.
Because crap and A, I was back there like 3 lifetimes ago, last lifetime ago, and it's okay. Now, whether or not I have to play in that field, that's a whole other thing, right? But to understand and go and not judge and go, okay.
That's right.
That's exactly where they're at.
That's right.
And it's interesting because my daughter has a little baby. And so as a grandma, I am not overbearing. I've really taken my energy and myself, and I've moved back, and I've just held space for her and her situation. And I really said to her, if you need support or ask me a question, I'm happy to answer it, but it's your game.
Right.
And then she has another side, the mother-in-law that's a little different than I am.
Yeah.
So she's got different perspectives moving through of, like the judging and the not judging. And so that's how I look at everything now. It's like, how to step into situations. And this goes back to helping so I don't compromise my spiritual goals.
Yes.
Of not judging people. Because if I judge, I'm compromising my spiritual goals of staying relaxed and staying present and staying with and working with my spiritual helpers when I'm working with everyone around me.
Yeah, it's so huge. And just on that particular point, but I want to expand on what you're saying. So that whole thing of like, some people know about what I know or what you know, or those of you watching this, you're going to be aware of things that other people aren't aware of. Mm-hmm. And that whole thing of not judging is so essential, because I don't know their need and spiritual purpose. I don't know. I mean, I can get a glimpse, right? Because if you have enough experience in life, you're going to go, oh, I can see where that's going, and I can see what's that, but still, everyone has that unique purpose that they come to work on. And if I'm in that space where I don't judge, because for all I know, they're ahead of me.
Oh, damn sure could be.
I have no idea.
Yes.
It's I may see the little gal or guy on the street. I have no idea. Maybe that's where I'll end up one day. No. So that's that whole thing of respecting where people are at and not buying into the judgment, because I don't know. It's none of my business really to know. So, and then the other part of it is this: the judgment itself puts me in a place of a different vibe. In order to really get involved in judgment, I'm being drawn down, right? If I look at it from a perspective of levels up and down, I'm being drawn down because the nature of what judgment is, right? It's passing that judgment, greater and lesser, right and wrong. And so the nature of that is a lower vibe, a lower frequency, so to speak, right? So I can play a game all day. Well, I don't judge, but look at that one over there, you know?
Judge.
Yeah. So I can play this intellectual game about it, but in reality, it's still in my vibe. I'm still kind of doing it. So that is a good spiritual goal for people to actually put in there, of switching the vibe to say, I'm not going to judge anymore. I'm not going to judge myself, and I'm not going to judge other people. I'm not going to judge the prime minister or the president. I'm going to evaluate the situation. Now, I want to put a little caveat here. Just because you put a different name on it doesn't mean that all the world's going to change and everything's going to be, rainbows and roses. There has to be genuine the sincerity behind that. So I think most people know what it feels like that someone else judges them. Like if I'm being judged by Bob or Sally, and perhaps everyone listening to this, you know what it feels like when people judge you, right? So that feeling is your key. That's the key. So if I'm involved in that, even if I'm real sneaky about it, it doesn't matter what word you use, you're still involved in that stuff. But if you're genuinely come in and say, look, I'm just evaluating, I'm getting the facts. Okay, great. That's where you're at. I accept you that way, fully, completely, which is your story. Going back to your story, like she's going to have the contrast of seeing what my mom does and what my mother-in-law does. And she's going to be able to see that and evaluate that for herself because of two different vibes coming in, right? And so that's how the learning process happens. So anyone you touch now, when you keep that going, and I'm saying this for everyone, anyone that you touch now where you come and say, I'm not judging you, I'll evaluate, because you got to mind your business. Then what that does is it amplifies the learning opportunity, because now let's say we're in a situation where I'm at your workplace and what's ever going on for me, but you come around, but you don't judge me. All of a sudden, for me, I relax inside. I can all of a sudden not feel that, because I know what it's like when I feel like I'm being judged. And I'm used to that stuff everywhere, whether it's the school judging me, whether it's the government judging me, whether my partner's judging me, whether it's my brother's judging me. Like this happens all the time. So to be around someone who doesn't do that, it's very freeing. And now I'll get ideas and insights. Inspirations will come to me. Those other doors will open up. So that's, without getting off too far, that spiritual goal of not judging, how powerful that is and what it does to everyone around in the environment. And that goes for not just judging, but that goes for other spiritual goals. So this person who asked about spiritual goals, pick one or a couple that you're willing to put some energy into each month. And it's amazing. You may never see it fully to its completion, but it's amazing that when you do that, how that affects everything around, because it starts it starts making that ball of tied up yarn that's like a big knot. It starts loosening it up, right? For those who can't see, it's like, imagine that ball of yarn that's all full of strings and stuff, and it's like a rock. Right? It's all tied up in knots. But then by doing that, fulfilling on the spiritual goal, it starts loosening that in the environment. And then there's more give and take, and there's more movement. And all of a sudden, more people can get their needs met.
There's a stronger current moving right now, and it may be revealing more than you expected. Firehorse energy brings courage and momentum and reveals where clarity is needed. The Reawaken membership is your monthly pause, a place to ground, reflect, and allow your inner guidance to reveal your next step. When everything speeds up, we slow down. So what is revealed becomes wisdom. If you're feeling the shift, we're here. Reawaken with us.
Yeah, and I want to caveat that with that we are human.
Mm-hmm.
So even for myself, as we're talking about judging, there are times I'm sure when I still judge people because it's a process.
Right.
So I think that's
Layers.
one thing. Layers and layers, like onion, right?
Yep.
And I think that's the thing I really want to emphasize in this podcast is as we explore these spiritual, areas of our lives and these big things about creating spiritual goals and not compromising, whatever, but remember that we're all human. So even for myself, like I said, there are times I'm sure when I still judge people, and it might even be unconsciously judging people without having to even verbalize it. But the fact that, I have this awareness and you listeners have an awareness,
That's right.
that's also power. And that's also an ability to start unfolding that spiritual goal to a whole new dimension.
That's right.
So I really want to say that because sometimes I think out in the world with spirituality, especially people, if I'm not, meditating on a hilltop and I'm not doing this and that, I'm not doing really well. Well, I almost said, fuck yeah, you are. Wait, Tom's not in the room. I can say, fuck yeah. You are. I mean, we are all doing great for even just sitting here talking about this, opening up this subject and recognizing the importance of creating spiritual goals and moving with them.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're so sensitive with what I was thinking about, because I was going to say the next thing to add to this mix is appreciation that I've made a step, and really being like genuinely like, hey, I did that, right? And letting myself experience that. Too often I can make a goal and then I'm off to the next one. And I don't really let that settle in, what I've just done for myself. And, but I want to go run this fast and go this far and be able to do this many goals. And I want to achieve it all tomorrow, and we all have that, right? Because that's how the intellect works. That's how my intellect thinks. It's like, I have this amount of time. I got to do it in this amount of time. And that's my achievement. And some of that is good, right? Because I need to have measures like, okay, I'm making progress. Oh, okay, well, I've slipped back here. So I do need that. But when I make a goal for myself spiritually, that is to say, when I make a step up, I need to acknowledge that. I want to let the universe flow through me. I want to let myself know I've done something. So that way it starts settling into me. Part of getting the lessons in life is appreciating what I've accomplished for myself. Otherwise, what'll happen is it's like getting half a lesson. So it's not being prideful, not like that, but it is being proud of what I did and what I've accomplished, even if it's a half step. Like, I got a little caught up with the thing with my family, but I didn't get caught up as like I used to. Like, hey, that's good. So keep going forward, keep being impelled to move forward and progress, because it's your life and nobody's going to make it for you. So that's part of the why we talk about, I'm sure you have, loyalty to self and self-respect, because nobody's going to jump in the coffin with me, and nobody has the responsibility of raising my state of consciousness. I'm the only one who can do that. So I do need to have some direction and focus and goals and move toward them and be sincere about that and be serious about that when I do need to say, hey, listen, I can't let myself rest on past laurels. But I also want to have the appreciation of what I've accomplished for myself. And whether someone's thinking in the span of lifetimes, or was someone just thinking about, wow, I'm further along today than I was yesterday. That's huge. That's huge. And that also keeps me away from judgment, right? And it solidifies the whole thing to a nice, I got the lesson fully and I appreciate it. Now that I appreciate it and it's sealed up, I'm going to go toward the next thing.
Yeah, I think that's important too, is just, going to this lifetime.
Yeah.
Because Tom and I were also already regrouping a bit about this new little grandson and how, each time we come back in, we know nothing. And then we have to explore, and we have to, be around people that have concepts and beliefs and explore with them. And then, and how that just kind of, opens up things. And I guess what's coming to me too is like, as we're sitting here talking about this and discussing this, those that are listening, I mean, if we could all look back at where we were at, earlier in our lifetime, or even like last life, like it would blow our minds as to how much we put together for ourselves. And I think that's a really good, the appreciation, the gratitude, remembering that we're human, and recognizing the fact that where you're at is the perfect place for what you've come to do.
Yeah. And that's, let's not rest on past laurels. Let's make sure we progress. That is a need. That's a spiritual need.
There you go.
To progress. It's a need. It's not a want. In other words, the soul, the real me, the real you has a need to evolve, to grow, right? That is a need. And if intellectually, I try to retard that. I try to slow it down because I'm afraid, or I get wrapped up in moral issues, or whatever. I get off the track too much. Something's going to come in and start to autocorrect, And there's only so many times, unlike the material world. You remember the thing where you have it put in the car and it says, where you miss the turn, it says, recalculating.
Yes.
Okay, take the next turn, right? There's this, materially, you just keep having these opportunities. They keep showing up. Okay, we'll take another right. Well, do a U-turn. Okay, we'll do the, so it keeps telling me that. Spiritually, when there's a need inside, like there's greater, we're talking about now, we're lifetime thing, right? So it's more of a spiritual depth. There are things that I come to do that are smaller in my life. And then there in my life, there's things that are come to do that are a bit bigger, right? And the bigger things are the ones that have been building up. You can think of it that way. So when I start missing those, I'm going to start getting a stronger nudge. And the real me, I'm doing this, right? It's not necessarily some outer thing. It feels like it's an outer thing from time to time, but I will start getting uncomfortable. I'll start attracting things in my life to make a change. And if I don't take the hints, those hints are going to get stronger. And as a joke, at least in our program, we talk, well, if the gentle hint doesn't get me, the 2x4 will,
Right.
And so I don't need a tragedy to move forward. So the key of not judging and appreciating what I've accomplished is starting to be aware of those hints. Right. Why don't I make an adjustment now? Why don't I do that now? Or, that seems a little bit heavy. Let me put that off to tomorrow or whatever, because that's too electric, right? So it's like having that energy to know when to do things. And I get that because I don't judge. I do appreciate. I am on track with my goals. So that's another thing to add into the mix. But I'd say, going back full circle, the not compromising on my goals spiritual goals is essential in order to feel like I'm continuing why I'm here, as opposed to having up days and then down days, and then up days and then down days. A lot of wear and tear in that. So if there's something that's working for me, great. Let me keep that going and improve that. If there's things that aren't working for me, okay, how do I shift that and change that? And let me make it a goal. And then the flower will blossom. More will come out from that. And one success leads to another success. So that's the power of building on what I have, the power of your success, my success. I get to actually feel that and go, okay, I sniff out the next thing. Oh, that feels like it could be a success. And I get familiar with it, right? And so that's that whole, why they say, and this is going to sound controversial, but that's why they say the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's because I'm tuned into that. And I smell out more of that, and I get used to that. Where the people who are successful, they go, I want to be successful. I smell that. I sense that. I'm going to follow that. So it's nothing against anyone, right? No judgment.
Right.
No judgment. It's, okay, what am I putting my energy toward? And that thing you're bringing up, that no judgment and appreciation, I'm using my words for it, how powerful that is in continuing the success.
Yeah, so we hope that we've given you some food for thought today on spiritual goals and on the question of how do you compromise? Where have you compromised a spiritual goal in the past? Quite interesting. I thank you so much, Tiger, for coming on and sharing your insights. When I got this juicy one, I'm like, Tiger's in the house today. Why don't we just do a quick one? So we hope that you might inspire you also to write down some spiritual goals. What spiritual goals do you have right now? And honestly, for myself, with our conversation, I'm going to work this month on not judging.
And that's just as a little plug for what you've been doing. That's another reason why people are getting involved in your Reawaken memberships. It's because it gives people the opportunity to regroup that and go over those things every month. And it has those lessons in there every week to practice. And I don't say that just for a plug. I say it because it works.
It really works.
It works. Otherwise, I wouldn't believe in it. I wouldn't do it. So that's a tremendous tool as well.
Yeah, with consistency, right? Consistency,
Huge.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Yes. So thank you all for listening in to another episode of Enthusiastically Spiritual. Tiger and I both appreciate it and appreciate you listening in. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. Or also, you can email me or find me on Facebook for sure too. And until next time, remember that life is too short to not be enthusiastic about your unique journey. Cheers. To keep the enthusiasm going, please like, subscribe, or comment below. We would love to hear from you.